Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and welcome to episode 270 of Boss's Bounty. This is the weekly series where I answer your questions. So if you do have a question for next week's episode and you would like your question to be featured in the video, please be sure to leave your question in the comments section of this video. Whilst you're there, if you do happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you are new. And before we get on to this week's questions, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that attended my first ever Whatnot live stream last night. I had a bunch of stuff up for auction and it looked like everybody was having a good time on the stream. I really do hope that's the case. As I said, it's the first one that I've ever run. I was doing little mini giveaways throughout, and also congratulations to the winner of the buyer's giveaway as well. That was the land speeder, and I just want to stress that that is separate to the giveaway of the layer. So this layer I am giving away, and to enter that giveaway all you need to do is sign up for Whatnot. So sign up for Whatnot using the link in the description below or in the pinned comment, and you will be awarded $15 credit or £10 credit to use on your first purchase. Now I just want to also stress that unfortunately on Whatnot you are unable to use your credit for listings or auctions that are overseas from the country that you're in, basically. So I myself can't use a credit for something that's based in the US, for example, and vice versa. So all of the people that were watching my stream from the US, unfortunately you weren't able to use your $15, but that does not mean that you can't use your $15 on an item that is located in the US. And essentially by using that you might be able to pick yourself up a free figure, right? Just the cost of shipping, use that $15 and you'll be able to get yourself a free figure. I'm actually quite surprised that not more people have signed up. I think it might be due to the fact that Whatnot isn't something that everybody has really heard of. But as I said, everybody that was on the stream last night seemed to be having a great time, and loads of people have said to me now that they're actually quite fond of Whatnot in terms of their place to buy some of their collectibles. So as I said, if you want to be in with a chance of winning this Canadian unpunched Revenge of the Jedi VC64 Princess Leia, then use my link in the description below or in the pinned comment and you will be entered, and I will be drawing that at the end of the month. The final Boss Bounty at the end of the month will be announcing the winner of that one. But I'll be doing more streams on Whatnot as we go, and with all that being said, let's get on to the first question of the week. It's the Natman says, "Hi BB, you spoke about doing 2 packs of pilots and droids, and I agree with you. Question for next week: out of the 30 rebel fighters at the Battle of Yavin, 4 pilots and 21 droids have no name, are only identifiable in the background of some shots. With this in mind, would you want Hasbro to do what they did for Antop Merrick's droid R2SHW and just take what little visuals they have and make up a name like they did in the old days, or would you rather they stick to what we know?" So for me, first and foremost, I think it's just important that they get the ones that are like actually took part in the Battle of Yavin that we saw on screen. So that's the major X-Wing fighter pilots and the major Y-Wing pilots and their droids that go with them. Above that, I guess it would be quite nice to have the rest of them, some of the ones that we saw sort of hanging around the base in the briefing and things like that, ones that we've got names for. But for me, they aren't as important as the ones that we actually saw on screen taking part in the battle, and maybe they should start with the ones that actually had lines to begin with, because we definitely need some of those, right? You know, Porkins, for example, springs to mind. We're yet to have him in the vintage collection. So that's how I kind of feel about it when I'm talking about pilots and droids. Get the main ones out first. Justin Riley says, question for next week: has season 2 of Andor changed the landscape of your wants in this year's up and coming last figure standing? I have 4 figures from Andor on my list this year, which is a testament to what a great show I found it to be. Never thought any Andor figures would ever appear in my top 25, let alone top 10 before. Well, when I'm looking at my previous lists for last year's last figure standing and for March Madness, I had a few Andor figures in there anyway, or ones that are loosely connected to Andor, i.e. Rogue One. So Saw Gerrera, for example, is in both. And I really can't see that changing too much. In fact, it may have increased slightly, because off the back of season 1, I may not have wanted a figure of Cleia necessarily. I mean, cool character and everything, but man, she had such an important role in season 2 that I really do now want a figure of Cleia. I think she's absolutely needed. The only problem with Cleia is that she has lots of different outfits, and it's very difficult to sort of pin down which one I would want. Probably her standard sort of blue outfit that you see her in the antique store wearing most of the time. But saying that, as I said, there's quite a few that you could pick. Nigel Fisher says, thanks for the content. My collection is boxed up and in storage, so you are my only outlet on the opening adrenaline rush VC brings to us 40, 50 somethings. Question for next week. Would you ever sell your original vintage collection? Some of the figures like Stormtroopers Yellow and can perish. Is it best to sell before they disintegrate? I used to collect Air Jordans and they suffer too. Not trying to scare you. So when you say my original vintage collection, I presume you mean the Kenner figures in that cabinet there. So I guess this is like anything, right? I mean, I think there always is going to come a time where you maybe even need to move something on for the financial reasons, you know, when you retire or something. I don't know, whatever the reasons. I've got to say that the cabinet that I have there with my original 96 in there, I would really like to sort of keep that for as long as possible as like a centerpiece of my room. It's complete, the figures are great, they're all sort of, you know, behind that protective glass, they're in a room that doesn't have any sunlight and all that kind of thing, so I'm not really too worried about the condition of them getting worse. I mean, they're already 40 years old and they're looking pretty good, they're looking in pretty good shape, you know, so I'm not really too worried about that. Other things perhaps that are outside of that cabinet, like I've got Max Rebo Band and some smaller vehicles, things like that, then possibly I'd move those on just from like a space point of view. But I think, you know, that cabinet and what's in there, I'm quite fond of that and I would like to keep it as long as possible. Dan Dunkel says, another great video. Tim, what do you think the chances of ever seeing Jackson in TVC? He's already in the Black Series and I think there might even be a Lego. Maybe a Pulse exclusive since he's pretty obscure. Just curious on your opinion. Thanks for all you do for us collectors. Cheers from Chicago. Yeah, so the Jackson thing isn't something that I would personally push for. I'm not really too interested in Jackson, if I'm brutally honest. I've always kind of thought he looked like Bucky O'Hare. But I know there are people out there that, you know, would love Jackson in the line. And you're right, the Black Series do have him. I guess when you look at that one, it's like, how much have they been able to reuse from other figures? Because I think when it comes to the vintage collection, I doubt very much you're going to get an all-new Jackson figure, like all new tooling. I don't think they're going to spend the money on it. I think you're right. It'll be like a Pulse exclusive or something, or maybe a Disney shop exclusive like they did with Life Day Chewie perhaps. Maybe where they can use a lot of existing parts. So yeah, I feel that it's like unlikely unless we can, you know, really find a figure where they can sort of steal most of the parts. Mando Michi says, what do you think the chances are of past HasLabs ever being re-released? I wasn't collecting during the Sail Barge release and desperately want one. Not bad enough to pay $1,800 to $2,000 for it though. Hasbro has been known for re-releases, but do you think the HasLabs will be different moving forward? Seems like the high secondary market price indicates a customer base for it. So yes, this is one of, if not the most negative thing about the HasLab projects, is that new collectors coming into the line, they can pretty much get everything else that they want, but the HasLabs do go up in price. They are tough to get, especially the older ones, especially the Sail Barge. But unfortunately, if they were to re-release a HasLab, and I've definitely talked about this before, unfortunately that would kind of break the whole HasLab model, the sales model basically, because the kind of idea of it is that you have to back it when you can back it, and after that it's done. And also when it comes to the Sail Barge, that came out what, 5 years ago now, 6 years ago now. The price of them doing that now would be a lot more than it was back then, and I think back then it was $500. It would be a lot more, and the shipping for it, the box was absolutely huge, it was really long, so everything about it, the price would just go massively up. Nowhere near the $1,800, $2,000 which it is on the secondary market, but it would go up significantly from the $500 in my opinion. But I don't think that's a thing anyway. I think it's the main fact is that, you know, not many people would back a HasLab if they knew that somebody would just be able to get one down the line in 3 years time. There's no sort of urgency around that, right? And a lot of people out there do collect for the value of things, you know, the prospects of it going up in value. And the reason sometimes that we hit like above 20,000 backers for these things is because of the people that buy the multiples. Meter86 says, hey BB, following the question from last week, I got myself a copy of the Blue Milk book. I'm obsessed with it. Another expensive Arsboss bounty for me. Question for next week, are you entirely collecting forward now, i.e. only buying new releases, or are there previous VC Saga or other releases you're still catching up on? I've already made about 3 purchases since the book arrived. Hope your holiday was great. So there is definitely some previous TVC figures that I need loose. I don't think I'm going back and getting any sort of carded figures now, because I'm kind of out of space for carded figures, if I'm honest. So the ones that I would pick up might be like rare variant, or like a pre-production, or an error card, something like that. That's kind of where I'm at with it now. But yeah, everything else is very forward looking. It's what's coming out, what's new, what is going to be so good that I have to take something off of my wall and replace it with this new thing. And believe me, it has to be something pretty good now, because I don't know, I maybe display like 60 carded figures on my wall, maybe a few more. So space is a premium, and when things come out, they have to be good. Toribio Mendiola says, hello BB, excellent video as always. Question for next week, with the recent rumours about the Deluxe Bad Batch TVC, which I assume will be Wrecker, do you think it's possible we'll get the Commando clones that appeared in the Bad Batch? Personally, I'd love to see the Imperial Clone Commandos. What do you think? I mean, 100% I definitely want those, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there would like those as well. They, you know, they appear in other things other than the Bad Batch, but it was very cool to see them in the Bad Batch. I think what they did with the Black Series is that they used the Hunter body, and I think the Black Series community kind of like pushed back on that and said, you know, they're basically inaccurate. So I feel if they were going to make them in TVC, I would really like them to do a new sculpt and not just use the body of Hunter. Because I do really think that there's mileage on that sculpt, right? I mean, it's not just the plain white ones. You've got the whole of the crew as well, including Scorch and Boss and a few of the others and things like that. James says, hello Boss Bounty, I believe you have addressed this before, but I would really appreciate it if you could respond to this comment and let me know your opinion on the best Bossk figure that has been made to date. I have the 1980 original and the 1997 Power of the Force 2 version, easily one of the best 10 Power of the Force figures in my opinion, but I would like something more in line with modern vintage collection figures. I see a 2007 figure come up from time to time which looks nice, but before I get a new Bossk figure I thought I would come to the foremost Bossk authority and ask for a recommendation. Thanks. I think the 2007 one is where you need to be, my friend. That is the figure that's in this card back here, and also the one that I use on all of my videos. It's nowhere near vintage collection quality anymore. It has swivel hips, it doesn't have hinges at the wrists, but the sculpt itself is brilliant. You know, it looks like who it's supposed to look like, right? And the card back obviously is great. You can also get the same figure in the, what was it called? The Saga Legends line, I think it was. It was like the orange and blue packaging. I will throw an image on the screen for you as well, because that one may be a little bit cheaper than this one. And also, I do find, not every time, but on a lot of these Saga collection figures, the bubbles go yellow. So it's happened with my IG 88 and it's happening with my Bossk, which is really unfortunate. So come on Hasbro, give us a new Bossk on that card back without a yellowing bubble. All new Bossk. Again, it'll open up other figures as well. Steve DeBursa says, hi BB, great show this week. It definitely adds to the anticipation for the San Diego Comic-Con in a week's time as to what will be revealed in terms of potential HasLab, the theme of 2026, and the new Han Solo 3.75-inch figure. Do you foresee that we will see any more items for the Tatooine theme beyond those already revealed? It would be great if there is another Cantina Patron or Beast reveal. All the best, Steve. So I don't think they've finished with the Return to Tatooine theme in terms of, you know, releasing characters that happen to be connected to Tatooine. So I think we'll probably see things released going forward. They're not just going to completely forget about the Cantina, but in terms of like this actual Return to Tatooine campaign, as it were, in 2025, that poster that they put out is looking pretty full. I do not envisage seeing another creature. I think the Bantha is the creature. I think the Landspeeder is the vehicle. And I think we're getting a bunch of figures. Unfortunately, not as many as we would like. I'm 99.9% sure that we will get to see Han Solo at SDCC. That is my hope anyway. Along with Chewbacca and the Han, I am guessing it's going to be like a scaled down version of what the Black Series recently got. So take a look at that figure and you can kind of envisage what our one's going to look like. But in terms of like a Cantina Alien 4-pack with like all new tools, I don't think that's going to happen, man. I really don't, and it is a bit disappointing. I feel that when you look at the campaign itself, there's a lot of reissues in terms of the aliens, and not too much new, which is a bit disappointing. TK says, hi Tim, while I'm not a TVC collector, I do really enjoy watching your figure reviews and these Ask videos. So question for next week, in your opinion, has there ever been a perfect TVC figure? Meaning no nitpicks, perfect articulation, paint apps, head sculpts, etc. Cheers. Man, that's a difficult one. Like, perfect, has anything ever been perfect? I mean, you can pick holes in anything, right? Even if it's like the slightest paint application on their cheek or something. But no, I've picked 4 out here, and there's another one that I can talk about as well. But for me, the Kanan figure from the HasLab is bordering on a perfect figure. I really can't sort of pick out any faults of that figure, and I think it won my figure of the year last year. Also, you've got Zeb there. That is an almost perfect figure. I can't really see too many issues with it. That's the one that came with the HasLab as well. Obviously the deluxe one, mainline version, was really good as well. And this Sabine figure, you know, based on Rebels, is just absolutely fantastic. Paint applications on that is just really, really good. Unbelievable. And then I've also put Bib Fortuna there because essentially, although there might be a bit of reuse there underneath his soft goods, I think they've reused Lando's legs. Could they have really done a better job with that Bib Fortuna? I mean, look at this sort of layered soft goods, the sort of paint applications, the head sculpt is like on point, the fingers, the way they've done those. For a 3.75 inch version of Bib Fortuna, except for the fact that maybe there's a bit too much blue on his head or something, that is an almost perfect figure. And then the other one I was going to mention that I haven't brought out is the Darth Vader Dark Times. Again, I think by far and away was the figure of the year in, 2023. That new Vader sculpt was just phenomenal, and of course they've used it for other Vaders since. So that for me is the perfect Vader. Andrew Cook says, hey BB, even though we've gotten some amazing figures in the last couple of years, I think the creatures we've been getting are more exciting because Hasbro wasn't making any for such a long time. I can't wait to have that Bantha in hand. So my question for next week is, if the rumours prove true that the next theme is prequel focus, what creatures from the prequels would you be most excited to see in the line? So there's a few creatures, isn't there, that spring to mind. You've got the, you know, the 3 creatures from the arena from Attack of the Clones. I know we do already have them, but we don't have them in sort of Vintage Collection Standard. But also another one springs to mind from Revenge of the Sith, and that is Boga, the lizard creature that Obi-Wan rides on when he's trying to get away from Commander Cody and all the clones when the clones turn for Order 66. And although again we have got that one, and unfortunately I can't find mine at the moment to show you, I think it actually snapped in half at the tail, which is a bit unfortunate. I do feel that that could do with an update, and not just from a creature point of view, but because, you know, we need a new Obi-Wan, right? We need a new Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith, so that can sort of link into it. And also we need a new Cody, and considering a lot of the parts are already there for Cody, why could they not pack in Cody into that creature? Of course I'd want Cody outside of that as well, because, you know, it's going to be a big seller, loads of people will want that. But some different version of Cody on a variant card back or something, you know, in with that creature. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to pack in, and a way of sort of costing that out, as it were. Because often with these creatures, the figure that they put in there has got a lot of reuse, and that's one that they could do. They could put a version of Cody in there with the Boga. That'd be awesome. Fortnite Gamer says, hi Tim, I'm rediscovering a hobby that marriage and kids made me set aside back in 2009, and I'm really enjoying working my way through your back catalogue as I figure out which areas I want to focus on. I've always been a big fan of the original Hoth figures and playsets, and I'd love to see Hasbro revisit the AT-AT Walker, Imperial Attack Base, Turret and Probot. Is that something you'd like to see as well, and do you think there's a realistic chance of it happening, Nick? So first of all, would I like to see that? Absolutely, I really would like an AT-AT Walker in my collection. I do not have any of the previous ones. I've owned them before, but I never opened them, and because they were in such great condition in terms of the boxes and everything, I just moved them on. I couldn't bear to sort of open one, but I would love one of them loose in my collection. Same as the Imperial Attack Base and a turret and a Probot. All of those things are things that I would like for my Hoth display. What are the chances of it happening? Slim, I would say, at this point in time. I just feel they're going in a different direction, especially next year. And then we've got the 50th anniversary of A New Hope, so you can kind of see where we're going. The 50th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back is a way away yet. We don't even know if 3.75 Vintage Collection will still be running then. We hope so. So, you know, it's about when would they be able to sort of give you those things, and also how much would that ATAP Walker cost these days for them to do? Yeah, that would be a lot of money. So I would struggle to see how they would do that in the current climate. Another question about Hoth from Christopher Demers, and he says, hi BB, question for next week. Considering how well the Snowtrooper came out and the overall popularity of ESB, do you think we'll see updates of other characters like Hoth, Han Solo, Bespin, Luke Skywalker? Thanks for all the videos. I always look forward to seeing your reviews. So these are kind of releases that might happen in isolation, possibly. Throwing in an Empire Strikes Back figure here and there. I don't think we're going to get any kind of like focus for a while on the Empire Strikes Back at all. And I don't really feel the success of the Snowtrooper really has any bearing on that, because it's, you know, it's an army builder trooper. It's one that's been wanted for a long time. I think they are also appearing in the new Mandalorian and Grogu film. Pretty sure they were in that sort of secret trailer that was viewed at Celebration. So there was another reason for them to do that figure possibly. And I don't think Hasbro are in two minds of whether the Empire Strikes Back is popular or not. I'm pretty certain that they know that it is, but I just feel that there's other things in the works before we're going to get to that sort of thing again. The Seishiro says, hi Tim, my name is Andre. Question next week. Do you think Hasbro will make another Heir to the Empire set, maybe this time with characters from the good side like Talon Card, Mara Jade, Wedge, Bossk, a couple of characters that I don't want to try and pronounce. What figures would you like to see in the second set? Keep up the great work. I enjoy every video. So yeah, I mean, this is entirely possible. I'm pretty sure that the Heir to the Empire set was well received and has sold pretty well. That's from what I can just tell. I don't have any sales figures, but just from looking at the overall sort of reaction to it online, seems to be well received. And you know, the Black Series have that sort of 4-pack with Luke, Clone Luke, and I think Joruus is in that pack as well. But there are others as well, like Rook, for example. We talked about him before. He's also in Star Wars Rebels. He's also in Star Wars Rebels, or if it's not him, it's the same species. So, you know, Rook would be a cool one as well. And then I think they did a separate figure of Leia in the outfit from Heir to the Empire in the Black Series as well. I think they were like named publishing figures, and they came in those like boxes that opened up with the cardboard front. So that's another one as well. But you've named some good ones as well, man. Mitchell Gum says, hey Tim, question next week. In the last week's episode, you talked about Hasbro giving us themes, and since many of us assume we will have a prequel theme next year in 2026, what do you think the odds are of the next HasLab will be prequel focused to go along with the 2026 release? I suspect they could be waiting until late in the year to announce it, because once they do, that kind of it confirms for us that we are indeed going to have a prequel focused 2026. Assuming all of that comes true, my question is, what is your #1 prequel era HasLab? I'm in the minority, as even though they made one back in 2002, I would back an updated, more elaborate, more detailed Geonosis Arena, worthy of current TVC standards. Attack of the Clones is mine and my girl's favourite of the prequels, and I'm really hoping they give us a new Geonosis Arena Padme like they did for Retro. So I certainly think it would make sense that if the theme for next year is the prequel theme, that they release a HasLab now to deliver in that same year. A bit like they've done with the Cantina, I guess. They launched it last year, it's going to ship this year, and we're getting the Return to Tatooine theme this year. So if the theme is prequel, then that would make sense for the HasLab to be that as well. So hopefully, we haven't got long to wait. Hopefully they're going to tell us something at San Diego Comic-Con. The only thing that worries me about something like that being announced and launching at San Diego Comic-Con is that there is currently a G.I. Joe HasLab running at the same time, and they kind of don't want these things crossing over necessarily. So we'll have to see what they do with that. But yeah, it would not surprise me at all if the HasLab ended up being a prequel era vehicle, playset, whatever it might be. In terms of what I would like, I've definitely talked about this before, and I haven't really changed my opinion about it, and it is a gunship. I feel that the gunships that we've got are pretty cool, but for me they're nowhere near large enough, and the one that we do have is a very old mold now, and it is, how can I say this, like, you know, it is blatantly a toy basically, and the vintage collection has come on a lot since then. If you look at the Razor Crest, for example, it is a toy, but it's also like a collector piece, isn't it, as well? And if you could imagine a gunship in the scale of the Razor Crest, or possibly a little bit smaller maybe, then I think we're going to be onto a winner, and I think it'd be super popular as well. But I do like your idea of the Geonosis Arena. I mean, that would open up for a lot of characters, wouldn't it? But also the gunships are there as well, so there you go. Alright then guys, that's it for this week's episode. I do apologise if I wasn't able to fit your question in this week. Please persevere and repost it if you would like, and hopefully I can get to it next week. And anybody else that has a question for next week's episode, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to sign up to Whatnot using my link in the description below, so you can be in with a chance of winning the Revenge of the Jedi Unpunched Princess Leia. This is the Canadian variant. Pretty sought after figure. Thank you to everybody that attended the Whatnot live stream last night and purchased something from me, and also thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members. As always, your support means a great deal to me, so thank you so much. Thanks for watching everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.